The story of coal does go back a long way, but sadly the future cannot continue like the past. It does somewhat pain me to admit that, as I come from a coal mining community, and Midlothian's coal mining fabric is entrenched in the community as much as the black strands in my Midlothian tartan tie that I wear today, dating back to the 12th century, when the earliest extractions by monks at Newbattle Abbey, the first Victorian super pit, the Lady Victoria colliery, still lives on as the National Mining Museum of Scotland in Midlothian, and certainly to anyone looking to visit, I would highly recommend Midlothian over Edinburgh, because Midlothian is clearly where the heart is. Coal is no longer king, although realistically it will still have a limited role to play in the energy mix as we continue down the decarbonising pathway in a sensible and phased manner. It's currently still used in blast furnaces, domestic heat generation, food and drink production, chemical production and electricity generation. And 14.5 million tonnes of coal was needed to meet demand for energy generation alone in 2017. But like a veteran actor, the roles for coal are becoming fewer and fewer. And instead of frantically scraping the earth for more, it's better to gradually and graciously retire from the scene and hand the stage over to the players of the future. Coal comprises 2.8% of the UK primary energy demand in 2019, down from 16% in 2000. By comparison, we've seen more than a tenfold increase in renewable energy generation since 1998, particularly from those offshore and offshore wind, driven by large unforeseen cost reductions, and that and other emerging technologies, including the potential role of hydrogen to help decarbonising heat, is where our energies should lie. What there won't be under the Scottish SNP government is a watch is any kind of fracking whatsoever, though, or any unabated new coal power generation. The last coal power station closed in 2016, and should there be any new application, it would not be considered without having carbon capture and storage technology in place. And Donald Trump did like to talk about trains loaded up with beautiful, clean coal, which is very nostalgic in image, but he certainly used it a lot when trying to win the votes of those in the industrial belt. However, it's understandably needed those areas need optimism for future jobs, but the term is a nebulous one, and it's unlikely his definition of clean coal included the trapping of carbon where it can't do any harm. According to factcheck.org, just 0.1% of American coal-fired capacity uses carbon capture technologies. While it's not the key solution, some of the carbon capturing and storage technologies could be needed to keep global warming below 1.5 degrees. And according to a report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, again, this field Scotland could have a competitive advantage, and the Scottish Government's energy strategy committed to work with industry to assess the opportunities for existing infrastructure we already have in Scotland's industrial clusters. Depleted gas fields have vast carbon storage potential, and projects are well underway, although progress has been hampered in the past by poor investment from the UK Government. I do hope the Prime Minister's newfound enthusiasm for a green revolution and UK energy priorities may more closely align again with the Scottish Governments in the work together to support the CCUS strategy. As we work to cut emissions, I do recognise the need to support our industrial bases and focus efforts on new jobs and economic opportunities and the green industries that will bring, making sure change is inclusive and we bring people with us. This is where the Government have gone badly wrong in the past. The proud coal mining communities of Midlothian were devastated during Thatcher's era, and I'm sure the motivation wasn't to clean up the environment. Pits were run down and closed with nothing but promises of the dole queue to replace them. Long and bitter disputes during the miners' strikes and the poverty and suffering they caused were entirely avoidable. But instead, the Government seems to have been itching for a fight at that time, and they certainly got one. In October this year, the Scottish Government announced pardons for miners who suffered from unfair convictions during picket line disputes of 1984 and 85, and I have and would re-emphasise my call for the UK Government to do their bit to close that chapter by finally agreeing to an inquiry into what did happen during the policing of these strikes and to help heal the wounds of the past. The future for communities like my own may not be built on coal, but they will be built on the backs of those miners and the families and the legacy lives and the grit and determination and the warmth and comradeship of the people. Midlothian was forged in coal, and it makes us a fantastic workforce for the industries of the future. Indeed, the old mines could still have a direct role to play in powering the economy, tackling fuel poverty and heating our homes, but in less conventional ways. The Hot Scot project, developed by the University of Glasgow, for example, is looking to tap into geothermal energy contained within the disused flooded coal mines across the country. It's believed heat trapped in the 600 cubic kilometres of disused mines throughout Scotland's central belt could meet up to 8% of our domestic heating demands, and extracting it could create almost 10,000 jobs while slashing household bills. Now, geothermal is a project that Midlothian has a long history in looking at, having commissioned a study into this in 2004, and the Scottish Government then looking again later in 2013, but unfortunately these were not viable at the time, albeit that the reports were then exported to Spain and Holland, where they were adopted. And anyone who gets a chance, I would encourage to engage with a chap called Stevie Gillespie, who has an absolute encyclopedic knowledge of such things. But the transition from deep mining, a high carbon activity, was economically unjust on our coal communities, closing down not only the pits but local economies too, with enormous and long-lasting social negative impact. The move to a low-carbon economy could be a just one if we choose to harness geothermal energy from mine water, which flooded pits like Bilston Glen, and tackle the industrial legacy which left its surrounding communities behind. We can tackle the fuel and food poverty of our coalfield communities by tapping into this rich new source of energy, installing district heating schemes in new and existing housing, and supporting local food production using heat to grow vegetables. Along the Forth estuary and up the Clyde, we can capture and convert the heat to feed our people, producing food from the riverbanks instead of having them go to food banks. There are challenges to overcome, but exciting projects like these could turn abandoned mines from liabilities into economic assets, which are an integral part of the green renaissance we seek to build. We just need the commitment to make it happen.
Luke Pollard.
Thank you, Madam